Hello everyone, and welcome to Superset Everything. On this edition, Fantasy Hockey. I'm going to go over the top forward from each NHL team this year to take in the upcoming Yahoo Fantasy Draft. Let's get right into it. Starting with the Anaheim Ducks, I'm going to go with Troy Terry. I'm going to start controversial because I think Trevor Zegras is going to get injured this year or have a lackluster productive season. I just don't think Zegras is going to produce that much. Troy Terry seems to be a solid pick, solid USA-born player. I think we got a good guy. Let's grab him. Troy Terry, that's my Anaheim pick. Up next, the Arizona Coyotes. With Arizona, their team did get a little bit better. I think they're still going to be a shit team, probably forever, but partying in Scottsdale is super fun. So I want Arizona to always have a team. So let's go Clayton Keller. Point per game player, salt of the earth kind of guy. Let's take Keller, put him on your lineup. I think he will go late in the first round, but he could be worth a first round addition. Coming up next, we're going to go with the Boston Bruins. With the Boston Bruins, they're going to have a shittier season for sure. You know they will, I know they will, but David Pastrnak, his output could stay constant. So I'm going to go David Pastrnak, Boston Bruins, that's my pick. Moving on to a team with a little bit more hope, the Buffalo Sabres. I think they're going to have a lot of fun this year. They got Eric Johnson. They got Tyson Jost. They have tons of the Colorado Avalanche spirit on their team. So I'm going to go with Tage Thompson. With assistance from Jeff Skinner, Tage is going to fly. And I'm going to put him on my team probably fourth. We're probably going to go some of the better players. And then Tage Thompson, I'm going to say fourth this year in the upcoming draft. Next, we got the Calgary Flames. With Calgary, I am going to take Jonathan Huberdeau. He could be one of the only things to save this city. We'll see. They are a bit of a dumpster fire right now. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs next year. But Jonathan Huberdeau has a history of having a better season after a shit season. So if history repeats anything, I think Hubes should have a better season. So go ahead and grab him on your team if you have to take a Calgary Flames player. Up next, you probably will want to take a Carolina Hurricanes player. So go with Sebastian Aho. Martin Nikas did play a bit better last year, but I'm going to take Sebastian Aho. He is a great kid, a lot of energy, signed a great contract. That's who I'd pick, so let's see how he does. Coming up next, we got the Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago, I think, is going to have a fun season. They got some new players, some new blood in there, kind of random players to support Connor Bedard. But with that name being said, Connor Bedard is my pick. So I'll go with Connor just because there's really nobody else on that team to pick for the forwards. And it could be a fun season just to see his output. I don't think he's going to have as good of output as he did. Well, there's no way in the WHL. But even as what people are saying, could be fun. Grab him. He might go first round. He might go second round. But either way, I think he could be a fun pick to grab. But up next, we have a team that everyone's going to want, the Colorado Avalanche. We have got Nate Dogg on that one. You got to pick Nathan. You could pick Rantanen, but first, you're going to have to take Nathan MacKinnon as the top forward on the Colorado Avalanche. There's really no one else to choose as number one. Coming up with the Columbus Blue Jackets, they have a new coach in Mike Babcock. I don't think that Columbus is going to do good at all. I think they were fun when they had those overtime rounds versus Tampa and shit. That was fun. But now they're kind of a shit city, and Johnny Gaudreau, he's the only guy you could take. I think he's kind of a shit player. I don't like little guys, especially with fantasy hockey. But you got to pick someone. So I take Johnny G. Maybe Mike Babcock can straighten him out a little bit. But I think either way, you're not going to take anyone from the shit house Columbus Blue Jackets. But next, you may take somebody from the Dallas Stars. And the one player you may take is Jason Robertson. Jason Robertson, obviously, is going to have a fantastic season. He's a great kid. He's a Filipino kid playing in California. I think he's going to have a fantastic future. So grab Jason Robertson. I'd say he goes top 10 on your list this year. So get him quick if you can. Coming up next, the Detroit Red Wings. Detroit has JT Compher. I wish you could take him. His production is not going to be that high. He's low-key one of my favorite Colorado Avalanche players of all time. But this year, you got to go with Dylan Larkin. You could take DeBrincat, but I'm going to go Dylan Larkin. Great season up ahead. Lots of power play time. Kind of the future, the face of the Detroit Red Wings. So I think they got a cup coming in them the next few years. But for your number one pick on the Detroit Red Wings for all the forwards, Dylan Larkin. Alphabetically up next, we have the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton, obviously, you got to take McJesus. He's the only player on that team that's number one. Draisaitl is a very close number two. But overall, you're not going to skip out on McDavid. Grab him if you get the number one pick. If you don't get the number one pick, you're not getting McDavid. So take whoever you can second, possibly Draisaitl. Coming up next, you got the Florida Panthers. If you got the top 10 pick with the Florida Panthers in there, it's going to be tough. You want Matty Tkachuk. Number one on the team by far. Florida did get a lot worse in my opinion. I think Florida's going to do bad, but I think Matthew Tkachuk will do better. Not that he did, but I think he'll do better than the team does, almost all put together. So Matthew Tkachuk is my Florida Panthers choice. Coming up next, you got the Los Angeles Kings. Now, I don't know what they were doing drug-wise or thought-wise or whatever, but they took Pierre-Luc Dubois on that fat contract. I think they're all idiots for doing that. I think it's going to affect them very negatively. So I'd say you have to take Kevin Fiala. He's been a point-per-game player the last 2 seasons. There's no real reason to think he's not going to have the same output. But overall, I think the Los Angeles Kings made a horrible choice, and they probably will go downhill now after making that stupid choice. Another team that I do not like one bit is the Minnesota Wild. But they have a player, Kirill Kaprizov. I personally have nothing against the guy. He seems like a nice kid. He plays very well. I've had him on my fantasy roster in the last couple of years, and I would grab him again. Last year, I grabbed him at the number 8 position. I believe he'll probably go around the number 8 position a while, maybe even 8 to 11, but we'll see. So grab Kirill Kaprizov if you can. Next is the Montreal Canadiens. This is a shit team right now. I like the franchise, nothing really against them, but the team is pretty shit. If you got to pick somebody, I'd go with Cole Caulfield. You could roll with Nick Suzuki, but I'd roll the dice with Cole Caulfield. He's getting a lot of power play time. Martin St. Louis loves him. If you got to pick somebody, I guess I would just pick him for the Montreal Canadiens. Not a lot of excitement on me on that one. Next, with the Nashville Predators, I would go with Philip Forsberg. They got a shit team again. They're not going to do great. I think Nashville is heading in a hard down direction. Philip Forsberg had his rough concussion last year, but I think he'll bounce back and probably have the most offensive output on that team. Also, Ryan O'Reilly doesn't do shit, especially in fantasy. So I would go Nashville Predators, Philip Forsberg. Coming up next, the New Jersey Devils. Tons of hope on this team. With New Jersey, I would go with Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes looks like a fantastic player, nice young kid. He's going to have tons of output next year. He has tons of support now with Heischer and Meyer. So if you get a chance to get Jack Hughes on your team, he's going to go high. So I'd grab him for sure. Coming up next, New York Islanders. With the Islanders, I will take the safe choice of Brock Nelson. I don't think that Bo Horvat will do more than Nelson. They could be equal. Horvat seems streaky to me. I don't think he seems like that good of a player. So I'm going to go with Brock Nelson on my team. Also, Matt Barzal. Barzal hasn't played a full fucking season since 2019. I don't trust the guy. I think he's a great player, don't get me wrong. I just don't trust him. If he's not going to play full fucking seasons, that's all you need. So Brock Nelson is a strong fantasy player. That's who I take on the New York Islanders. Up next with the New York Rangers, there seems to be a lot of choices, but when you get digging, there really is only one choice. Artemi Panarin. Artemi Panarin has a fantastic track record of points, goals, power play goals, shots on net, everything you want. So if you can get Artemi Panarin, he's going to go top 5. I'd grab him quick because you're not going to have a lot of chance with that guy. With the Ottawa Senators, I would take Tim Stützle. Now, before you fire things off in the comments and you don't agree with me, I know Tim Stützle can be a bit controversial based off Brady Tkachuk. The only reason I picked him over Brady is the 90-point season he had last year. He's played less time in the league than Brady has, and Brady hasn't hit that 90-point mark. Tim Stützle hit a fantastic season last year. I think he's going to come back and have an even better season this year. Ottawa just got a lot better. So I have a lot of hope for Ottawa. They could be the first Canadian city to win a cup. I'd go Tim Stützle, but if you get Brady, it's not a bad second. If you end up picking someone from the Philadelphia Flyers, which is my next team, you're going to have to take Travis Konecny. Philadelphia is in the shits. They're not going to do good. You're not going to take Travis Konecny in the first round. But if you have to, he might not be that bad. He's getting a lot of ice time now that Kevin Hayes is gone. So if you take Konecny, it's probably a shit decision by you. Good luck with him, but you might have to. So Philadelphia Flyers, Travis Konecny. Up next, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sidney Crosby. Fantastic last couple seasons. He's going to have a good couple seasons right till the end. He will not always be as strong as he is. They are getting older, but the fire in that guy, just pick Sidney Crosby, run him for the regular season. He will tire out for playoffs. They will not win the cup. Do not put your money on them to win the cup. But for the regular season, Pittsburgh Penguins, Sidney Crosby. Coming up next, we have the San Jose Sharks. On this team, you don't got much choices. You got Logan Couture is the only player on this dumpster fire of a fucking club. So grab Logan if you have to. I'd grab maybe second round, third round. He will get lots of ice time. Doesn't get injured that much, and he does get some points. But San Jose is not going to do great. So even though for this video you got to pick one, take Logan Couture. But in real life, you're not picking no one on that team. But coming up next, you may have to take someone on the Seattle Kraken. On Seattle, I don't like this kid one bit. for no real reason, but you just don't like some people. Matt Beniers. If you have to take him, take him. I think he's kind of just a weird looking, kind of funny hockey player. And it has nothing to do with them kicking us out. I did like Seattle last year. They had a good season. But Matt Beniers, that's who I'd take as my first choice, even though I wouldn't want really anybody on Seattle. It's coming up next. We have the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis, you have to take Jordan Kyrou. As far as the team, they are going to be a trash team. I think Kyrou will have a good season. They're going to be a middle-of-the-road team. St. Louis is never going to be dead last in the next couple of years, but they are not going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. So take Jordan Kyrou. He's a younger player with a lot of fight, a lot of fire, and I think he will have a good season. He hit 70 points the last couple seasons, and I don't think there's really any reason why he won't hit the 70-point range again. So grab him on your team if you can. Not in the first round, second round, third round, but the first St. Louis player that you should take is Jordan Kyrou. We have a team next that historically has done great. They will not do good this year, but they will make the playoffs. We have the Tampa Bay Lightning. With Tampa Bay, I would take Nikita Kucherov. They got a great foundation in the team. Kucherov's going to have a great season again. They just aren't going to win the cup, obviously. But grab Nikita Kucherov if you can. I think he will go top 10. He has potential to go top 10. We'll see where he does, but if you can grab Kuchi, it could be a good pickup. Don't grab him in the first top 8. He could get injured. He might not play that much. But coming into that 10, 11, 12 spot, grab Nikita Kucherov. He will be solid on your team. Up next, we got the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto, okay, I will go Austin Matthews. It's not because he's American. It's not because Marner isn't. It's just because Matthews had an outstanding last couple seasons. Marner did too, but with Austin Matthews, he has done so well, and with his contract season coming up, I think he's going to have an outstanding season this year. Maybe lack off in the next couple of years, but I think Austin Matthews is the number one you got to go over Marner for this season coming up. After them, you got the Vancouver Canucks. Same thing with Matthews, you got Elias Pettersson. I think Elias is going to have a good season only because his contract season is coming up. I think Vancouver will also, like Calgary, be a dumpster fire like most of the Canadian teams, but I think that if you have to choose one, I take Elias Pettersson, especially because he is coming on that contract, but also he is the best player on Vancouver Canucks anyway, so we'll see how they do. Up next, we got the Vegas Golden Knights. With Vegas, I would go with Jack Eichel. Again, I don't like him. Him and Pierre-Luc Dubois are just two players that I just don't like them. Maybe it's because they just don't look that great physically, but also it could be because they're just kind of like lanky, kind of shitty little dudes that, I don't know, I don't think they bring that much pack their punch. I just don't really like them. But if you have to take one player on Vegas, let's go with Jack Eichel. And he could do good for the team, but he could get injured this year. So keep that as a risk as well. With one of my last picks, I'm going to go with the Washington Capitals, Alex Ovechkin. You got to take him. Every year you think he's going to do worse, and he does about the same. If he can hit that 42 goal mark again, I'll be very impressed. I think he's going to be mid-30s this year. If he even finishes and gets that Gretzky record, I really, really want him to, but with family issues, with Russia issues, I just don't know if he'll actually finish and get that Gretzky goal if he cares as much anymore. But I do pin him around the 35 goal mark this year. So we'll see if they can achieve that. Washington isn't as good of a team, but if he plays to his abilities, he should at least hit 30. So I hope he gets it, and let's go with Alexander Ovechkin. Up last, we have the Winnipeg Jets. Winnipeg will do okay this year. They always do. Hopefully they make it through. The sea of white that they have in the playoffs is kind of fun. But the team historically isn't that great. But I would still take Kyle Connor, who does historically have a pretty great record. And if you get him on your team, I wouldn't take him in the first round because personally, I don't like Winnipeg at all. I like to kind of follow teams that I like on fantasy, even though you should have zero emotion when you're playing it. Kyle Connor could be a good player to get. He's easily a point per game player the last couple seasons. If you got to take one of the Winnipeg Jets, grab Kyle Connor, let him roll, put him on your bench. When Winnipeg has a good week, toss him on. We'll see how they do. But I don't put much faith in the Winnipeg Jets. Alright guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. I would really love it. It shows that you guys watch the page. Follow along all year for more fantasy hockey tips, gambling tips, just general information about hockey that I find interesting. And maybe we can win some games together. Maybe we can even win a little bit of money together. Good night. Thanks for watching.